It's fake. It wasn't my choice to make. To be great, I'm giving it all it takes.
To this day, the musical genius and creative legacy of Tupac Shakur remains impossible to ignore, and the women who shared his world are just as unforgettable. From actresses to chart-topping artists and runway models, their stories have stood the test of time. Join us as we revisit the remarkable women whose lives were forever touched by Shakur. Welcome to the Beef Report. Let's dive in. Yolanda, Yo-Yo Whitaker. The journey of these two artists first intertwined within the walls of a recording studio during the 90s, their worlds colliding across different cities in what felt almost like fate. What began as a genuine friendship between the two gradually deepened into something far more meaningful. A full-blown romantic connection.
Early, 89, when Pac first came out here, and we dated, and Pac, we became great friends, which later ended up in a relationship, which turned into a friendship.
Our love was real, and that never changed, not even until his final breath. She shared during a 2021 sit-down with EUR Web Spotlight. Yet as time passed, the nature of their bond quietly shifted into something more familial. He stopped being a lover and started feeling more like a brother. There was no dramatic falling out, no single moment that broke them apart. She explained that they were simply two souls, navigating life on the road, who happened to find one another, nights spent traveling together, conversations that went deep into the early hours. He never claimed to be flawless, and he never pretended otherwise. What set him apart was his willingness to speak on the things others tiptoed around, his roots, his family, the uncomfortable truths that most people would rather leave buried.
The same crime element that white people fear, we fear. So we defend ourselves from the same crime element that they scared of.
People avoid facing their own truth, but that raw honesty he carried, that fearless commitment to it, is what deepened my feelings for him. Lisa Lopes, Tupac Shakur, and Lisa Lopes first connected in 1992, sparked by an unexpected run-in at an industry gathering. Lopez, famously recognized as the spirited left eye of the iconic girl group TLC, found herself immediately drawn to the magnetic young rapper.
A little weird being in the presence of Tupac, and we were odd. It was very odd when we were together.
The connection between the two was nothing short of electric. Both carried a boldness and intensity that made their bond undeniable. But as time went on, the chaos of their individual worlds and the relentless pull of their careers began to take its toll. After roughly a year together, they quietly went their separate ways. Rosie Perez,
This is beautiful.
Rosie Perez, a seasoned actress with a commanding presence, found herself drawn into Tupac Shakur's world after their paths crossed in the early 90s. While the two never put a formal label on things, those close to them knew there was something undeniably warm and personal between them. Perez was a familiar face by Shakur's side at some of the industry's most notable gatherings, most memorably, the Soul Train Music Awards, where he stepped out as her date for the evening.
Fondest memory of Tupac was when we went to the Soul Train Music Awards together.
Even though their connection never crossed into romantic territory, fans still warmly recall the genuine bond that existed between Perez and Shakur. Madonna Shakur and Madonna were an item for a little over a year starting in 1993, brought together by mutual friend Rosie Perez at the Soul Train Music Awards. Interestingly, though, it wasn't until 2015 that Madonna herself publicly acknowledged the relationship, opening up about it during a sit-down with Howard Stern. She looked back on their time together with a mix of humor and fondness, admitting there was one awkward moment on the Letterman show, but insisting that beyond that, things between them were genuinely good. She reflected on the memories with a smile.
I don't know why I get so much.
You realize this is being broadcast, don't you?
I don't know. I was in a weird mood that day.
You flirted with
I was dating Tupac Shakur at the time, and the thing is, he got me all riled up about life in general. So when I went on this show, I was feeling very gangster.
A letter penned by Shakur to Madonna surfaced through TMZ in 2017, written during his time behind bars at Clinton Correctional Facility. The heartfelt note, dated January 15th, 1995 revealed that Tupac had ended things with Madonna, pointing to tensions surrounding her racial identity. He posed a candid question: would being seen with a black man really put her career at risk? For him, the answer cut deeper. He feared that pursuing the relationship would mean turning his back on the very people who had built him up and believed in him. He closed with sincerity, making it clear that hurting her was never his intention. Sally Richardson.
Myself out of this stupid dress. No one wants to see me 5 minutes ago. Can you can you help? Thank you.
It was the glittering Hollywood scene of 1993 where Shakur's world collided with that of Sally Richardson. Richardson, celebrated for her memorable performances in films such as Low Down Dirty Shame and Antwone Fisher, found herself drawn to Shakur's magnetic and complex persona, sparking a romance that burned bright but fast. Despite the undeniable chemistry between them, the relationship couldn't survive the pressures of their demanding lives, and after a year together, the two went their separate ways. Next up, Keisha Morris.
You know, he liked to give to a lot of people. He liked to help whoever it was that he could, but a lot of people didn't get a chance to see.
Shakur's path crossed with Morris on a summer night in 1994 when the two met at the Capitol nightclub in New York City.
I was with him through some very, difficult times throughout his life, and I was basically his backbone.
Once he was out on bail, everything shifted. Morris opened up about it in a 2011 interview with XXL magazine, admitting that the change was hard to sit with. She described that sinking feeling of realizing she was no longer a priority, that the moment he was free, the dynamic between them simply evaporated. Still, despite the painful end to their marriage, Shakur and Morris managed to hold on to a genuine friendship that lasted right up until his passing. Jarrah Everett. Following his split from Morris, Shakur found himself drawn to Jarrah Everett, though their time together remained largely out of the spotlight. Details about their romance are sparse, but Everett offered a rare and tender glimpse into who Tupac really was in her autobiography. Behind closed doors, she wrote, "He was grounded, genuine, and nothing like the figure the world thought it knew. The Tupac she experienced was warm and real, a side of him that the public rarely got to see." Heather Hunter. Hot on the heels of his romance with Everett, Shakur turned his attention to actress and model Heather Hunter. The two crossed paths through their creative worlds, even sharing the screen together in the music video for Shakur's track How Do You Want It, a collaboration that quickly grew into something more personal.
Tell me how you want it.
Despite the short-lived nature of their romance, the two maintained a genuine friendship that endured right up until Shakur's tragic passing.
If you know Pac, he can inspire you to, it's ridiculous.
It was amazing. She said in an interview with Vlad TV in 2016, "He was a really close and dear person to me, just like anybody. I hold close and dear. I respect him." Faith Evans. It is known that Faith Evans, a prominent singer, had close ties with Tupac Shakur. She met Shakur in 1995 in Los Angeles. During the peak of his illustrious music career, they engaged in a brief romantic relationship that unfortunately was colored by the hip-hop rivalry between the East and West Coast involving Shakur and Evans, then husband, rapper, Notorious Big.
I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player.
Short as it was, that connection left its mark, adding another layer to the tension already simmering across the hip-hop landscape in the 90s. Charisse Neal. Tupac found himself drawn to Charisse Neal for a brief stretch in 1995. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. Neal carried the history of being the former wife of Vince Neil, frontman of rock legends Motley Crue. Yet somehow, the two discovered a spark that bridged that gap. What they shared may not have made headlines the way some of Tupac's other romances did, and the details remain sparse, but those who knew them both understood that something meaningful passed between them. Ada Jones. The story of Tupac and Ada Jones began at a club, right on the eve of one of his court appearances in 1995, an unlikely setting for what would become one of the most emotionally charged connections of his life.
Kid Ada Jones, right? I'm Tupac.
I know who the hell you are.
I'm surprised you're calling me by my name.
Jones kept her distance from the rapper at first, and for good reason. Shakur had previously made disrespectful remarks about her father, the legendary Quincy Jones, for his marriage to her white mother, Peggy Lipton. But their second run-in changed things. Shakur owned up to his words, offered a genuine apology, and Jones handed him her number. By the time their third meeting rolled around, it was clear Shakur was completely taken by her. "I love her," he confided to his mother, Afeni. "She's going to be my wife. She's having my children." Once his prison sentence was behind him and his marriage to Morris was dissolved, Shakur settled into a home Jones provided for him in Calabasas, California. Their connection ran deep, deeper than most. "Tupac was the love of my life," Jones later wrote in her father's 2001 autobiography. "He and I lived together for 4 months, and then he was murdered in Las Vegas in 1996. It was the most horrible thing that ever happened to me."